Hello everybody, what's up? And today's video I'm going to be going over one of the best settings videos for you beginners out there, so let's get into the video. Okay, so here we are in training. I'm going to use this to try and showcase some of the settings here. So we're going to go over some of the first settings, so we're obviously going to head over to our settings. We're going to skip the training tab and we're going to head straight into the gameplay tab. So the gameplay tab is, well, honestly, I don't really play around too much with this. You've got the split screen layout. I don't play split screen, I'm on PC, so I just keep it to whatever. I do have cross-platform play on. It's personal preference, whatever you guys want. Client send rate, server send rate, and the bandwidth limit is all at high. If you are having like internet issues for the input buffer, instead of default, you would put it to like CSTS. But I keep it at default. Show competitive visions on default, all this stuff, right? You know, your region, game stat, all over, right? Camera settings. So these are super like important, especially when you start playing the game. You will have, obviously, so first off, you want to take off camera shake. So if you have camera shake on, this is what it looks like. Your screen will like shake, like if you hit the ball, right? You can see how it shakes, and it can honestly be super distracting in game. So what you want to do is you just want to head over there and just turn it off. Field of view, it's at 90, I think, for beginner, and you guys can see this it's super close to the car. It doesn't feel very clean at all. It feels very, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right, obviously, you know, since I'm used to the max field of view. So you want to set it anywhere between 110 to 108. I personally do it all the way because, I mean, there's no point in keeping it one lower. Might as well just keep it all the way. Distance, you can put it from anywhere from 260 to around 280. I put it at 270 personally. It's, I think, the perfect amount of distance for that. Then we have the angle and the height. So the height usually can range from 90 height to around 110, maybe even 120. Okay, so 90 to 120. So usually I stick with 100. A lot of pros are now switching to 90 height, but I'll go on to explain why. So obviously having a more like lower height can be really good for ones, but having a higher one can be good for like threes. If it's super low, sometimes you guys might see, if it's really low, it may be harder to see people who are coming, and you won't get that height advantage, right? But with that height, it gives you, if you're dribbling on top of with the ball, it gives you that little bit extra vision that sometimes you may not get, right? So the next one that we're gonna go over is the angle. So obviously people, it kind of depends. Usually people go from around like -3, -2 to around -5, -6. I usually stick with -4. Pros, what they'll do is they'll put it at 90 height and then -5 angle. I think so. You know, whatever you guys are comfortable with, just experiment a lot with these. Stiffness controls how rigidly the camera follows my car, right? So if I'm drifting, if I'm taking a drift, you see how it's like not at all with my car? Like it's like kind of off-centered. Now watch, if I put this to the max, it'll follow my car like this, which personally I don't really like. Personally, I think it just feels very tight, and I don't really like that, right? So obviously I put the sniffness personally to 0.1. Swivel speed is how fast your camera will move if you use the joystick. So obviously I put it at max. Some people like to put it, you know, down. Like they'll maybe put it to like 5, so it'll be a little bit slower. But I like to put it at max so I can get like that quick, you know, little vision. Like if I need a little bit of info, like if I'm like this, I can just quickly move my camera like that, right? Transition speed, again, entirely up to you. I know like my duo, at least, he uses like 1, so it goes like super slow. Like this. I personally like to have it really fast. I like to have it at 0.8. It's like really snappy, which is what I personally like, because then it's just quickly able to lock onto the ball. And then invert swivel, it's completely, you know, however you like it. You know, if you have it on, if you move it to the left, it'll go to the left, right goes to the right. But then if you turn this off, same thing. So, yeah. Now let's head on to the next set of settings, which is the controls. The controls, honestly, for me, so there's a bunch of, you know, controller bind videos out there. You guys can check those out. But I won't go into the keybinds too much because, you know, it's a that would need a entirely different video itself. We're going to head on to some of these other settings. So steering sensitivity, I usually have it at 0.4. You can put it lower. Like if you're very new to the game, I'd recommend putting it all the way down. And as you start getting better and better, moving it up, you can kind of play around with it. Controller dead zone. So this controls how far your stick must move from the center of my controller in order to actually turn my car in game. If it's really low, then I would have to move it like this just to turn my car. But if it's really high, I can just move it very little and it would just start turning, right? So obviously, it's kind of up to however you like it. I personally put 0.23. Dodge dead zone. So the dodge dead zone is basically how far you must move the stick from the center of my joystick to flip it, right? So like obviously if I move it like a little bit, it won't register the flip. However, if I move it like all the way, it'll flip, right? Some people, it's really loose so that if they barely move it up, like forward their joystick, it'll just do a flip for them. So it's, again, all of these are mainly personal preference. Controller vibration, why? There's no point in having this. And having controller vibration, I personally just turn it off. It doesn't make any sense to have it on, it just messes up with how you play. Ball cam mode, obviously toggle. Mouse sensitivity and keyboard, all this stuff is for keyboard players, which I'm not a keyboard player, so. Next, let's move on to the interface. Interface settings, I have the interface, display, and nameplate scale all at the max. This basically controls how big a person's, like, nameplate is in game. So if it's really small, it might affect your dribbling, but if it's really, you know, big, you can actually probably see where they are while having a ball on top of your car, right? Because the ball blocks part of, you know, the vision. Next up, nameplate mode, obviously default. I want us to be able to see everything. Match notifications, I have it at all. All of these, I honestly don't really play around with too much. So let's just head on to the I think probably one of the most important parts of any Rocket League gameplay or any Rocket League settings to become better is the videos tab. Okay, so the videos tab, this is basically all of my settings. So if you guys do know, if you want to become better at this game or you're a very competitive player, you want to turn everything down. This is the game everything turned down, which honestly it looks really nice still with everything turned down. So, I mean, this can also help if your PC is not very powerful either. So, obviously, resolution, I run with 1920 by 1080. You know, that's my monitor's resolution. Display mode, you want to do full screen at all times. This, what I'm saying is, like, having it at full screen at all times is just better because then all your FPS will go into the game. Let me put everything to default, and you guys can see what it'll be like at default. So, everything's full screen. VSync would usually be on, but VSync just makes everything a lot more, it creates more input lag, which is bad, right? You don't want to have that. So you want to turn VSync off, right? And then hit apply. Then we go to basic settings, you want to turn anti-aliasing off. Render quality, you can keep it at high quality. And then render detail, you put it at performance. Okay, so that's what you want to do. And then frames per second, I put it at 360. I could go uncapped, but 360, it's a more consistent frame rate. So, I like to use that. Texture detail, I like to put at high performance. All of these are at performance. This is at default, but I usually put obviously low intensity. And then everything else is just turned off. So that's pretty much it for the settings. This is really important because it can help boost your FPS and then reduce input lag in the game. So let's move on to the audio tab. Okay, so these are all of my audio tabs. So first off, for master volume, I have it at 27%. It's pretty, you know, whatever you like to have it at. I don't want to hear the game like blasting in my ear, but I also want to be able to obviously hear what's happening in the game. I guess someone jumps up for an aerial or something. Gameplay, 26%. Music, playlist, and the music gameplay. I honestly I always turn player anthems off, so I don't really have anything for these guys. Voice chat, I keep it 100%. Ambient and crowd, I don't really pay attention too much to that. The output, obviously put it as headphones. Dynamic range, high theater. All of these I turned off, the soundtrack and menu. Honestly, it's just annoying hearing that music in the background. I like it just to be simple, and that's what I like. And then player anthems are always off, and then streamer safe music and mute on unfocused. I turn this on sometimes, that's just in case if some music comes up, I don't want to get copyrighted. And then mute on unfocused, so it'll basically mute the game audio when you obviously alt tab out of the game. So let's move on to the next one, the chat. So this is basically all my chat settings. I did change my chat settings, so obviously for informational I put on your left, on your right, but everything pretty much is the exact same. Nothing too crazy. I turn that off, and then quick chat, all of these are with everyone except party chat. I allow that, right? The voice chat, I change it to friends only, right? That's just something I like to do. I don't really like to talk to other people too much, because I'm usually just either calming to myself or I'm calming to my friends in Discord. Voice chat, input device, and the output device I usually just keep at default, because I don't really have an input or output device for voice chat right now. I just don't really use it that much, right? Voice chat method, open mic, preferred is in the party. Main menu, match, and text are all on. So, yeah, that's pretty much all of my settings for today's video. It's a nice and, well, decently long video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Like if you guys want to have any more questions about, you know, your settings, what settings are the best. There's plenty of other videos out there too, so you guys can check on the topic, but this video will pretty much cover everything you need to know for some of the best settings in Rocket League in 2024. And hit that like button, and I'll see y'all in the next video. See ya.